Today is August the 7th, 1968. This is the interview of Officer Bobby W. Hargis being done at 1818 Adelaide Drive in Dallas, Texas. Phone number Franklin 13580. Present in the home of Officer Hargis is Tom Bethel and myself, Al Ozer. Officer Hargis, how long have you been a member of the Police Department of Dallas?
14 years.
And as of this date of August the 7th, what is your particular occupation or assignment with the Police Department?
I'm a patrolman in the traffic division.
At the time of the assassination of President Kennedy, what was your assignment with the Dallas Police Department?
I was a motorcycle officer assigned to the left-hand side of the car.
Can you give me the names of how many motorcycle police officers were surrounding President Kennedy's limousine besides yourself?
Well, there was myself on the left-hand side, and there was Officer Billy Joe
Was that Martin?
Martin behind me, and Officer James Cheney on the right-hand side, and I believe Officer Baker behind him. I could be mistaken.
So as the limousine was driving, there were two motorcycle police officers to the rear on either side of the limousine itself.
Right.
And in front of the motorcade, there were other motorcycle police officers.
Right.
So there were only 4 motorcycle men by the limousine at the time it hit into Dealey Plaza.
Correct.
Okay. When was the first time you knew something was wrong, and why?
When I heard the first shot.
Where was your car approximately when you heard the first shot?
It was about maybe 100 to 150 feet west of the intersection of Houston Street and Elm Street, on Elm.
On it, that would be, would you say the limousine was then past the book depository building?
Yes, sir, it was.
It was also past that tree that is sort of in front of the book depository building?
Yes,
All right. About how far past the building would you say that was?
Well, might have been right even with the corner of the west side of the building, or it might have been a few feet on the other side. It's kind of hard to judge.
Approximately what speed were you all traveling?
We weren't going too fast, around 2 or 3 miles an hour.
Were you going slow enough for your bike to start heating up? Like I've normally seen motorcycles doing parades, you know, they'll start smoking.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, it had been all the way down the route.
At the time you heard the first shot, were you the closest motorcycle policeman on the left side?
Yes, sir.
Martin was behind you or on your side?
Martin was behind me.
Behind you, okay. And what happened after you heard this first shot? What was your reaction to the first shot?
It sounded like a firecracker at first, and when I looked over to the president, and like he was bending over to listen to something that Conley was saying, and Conley turned his head around. I thought that Conley was the one that was hit.
Right.
Actually,
Now, I'm correct in stating that President and Mrs. Kennedy were in the rear seat of the limousine.
correct.
Mrs. Kennedy was closest to you,
Right.
and President Kennedy was to her right.
Right.
Directly in front of President Kennedy was Governor Conley,
Right.
and to his left, in front of Mrs. Kennedy, was Mrs. Conley.
Was Miss Conley there? I believe she was in the car. I can't remember.
Well, there was a lady to Governor Conley's
Well,
left.
that was his wife.
There was a lady there, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, which way was Governor Conley looking back at this time?
Well, he was turning over to look over his left shoulder, and he had kind of a pained expression on his face.
All right. Before that, did you at any time see Governor Conley look to his right?
Not that I remember.
All right. When you saw Governor Conley look over his left shoulder, or attempting to look over his left shoulder, and had this pained look on his face, what was the president doing?
He was bending forward right after the pop he bent forward, and it looked like he was bending forward to listen to what Conley had to say. When Conley turned around, I thought that's when the first inclination I had that it was a shot.
Was the president doing anything with his hands at this time?
No.
The president didn't have his hands around his throat?
Well, I couldn't tell.
What could you see of the president?
I could see his the left back side of him.
Could you see his head?
Yes, sir, I could see his head.
Could you see his face?
I could see the left side of his face.
Did he have any pain expression or any type of expression on his face?
Not that I could tell, but I did notice Conley's face, and when he turned around, he was facing me. See?
Looking sort of right at you.
He was he's looking at the president, but he had his face square at me.
And this is when he had this grimace on his face or some sort of expression that indicated to you he'd been hit.
Right.
And at any time did you see the president grab his throat?
I don't remember seeing him grab his throat.
Right. What I'm referring to, I'm sure you've seen pictures of the president, of slides of taking a Zapruder film, that when they came behind the Stedman Freeway sign, the president had his hands by his throat. Have you seen that picture?
I probably have.
All right. Well, at this time that you heard the first shot, about how far were you all away from the Stedman Freeway sign? The one that used to be there.
I don't really know. There's so many small signs around that area.
Now, after you saw Conley get hit, what you think, in your opinion, he was hit at this time, and the president leaning forward as to talk to him or say something to him, what happened next?
Well, the president seemed like he bent over this way.
That's down.
To listen, and then I started looking around, and then when I looked back to the president, he was raising back up, and that's when that shot him in the head.
Right. Would you say when you look back around, the president was almost sitting straight up?
Yes, sir.
Right. Where were you looking before you looked back at the president?
I was looking all around. We was down in that valley. It's kind of little
dip
depression.
Yeah.
It goes under the triple underpass, and there's nowhere in the world you can tell when a sound like that echoes. It just goes all the way around it, and you can't tell where it's coming from.
So you were looking for somebody with.
Right.
Okay. Did you see the president's head get hit?
I sure did.
All right. What happened then?
It looked like his head exploded, and just looked like you take a cantaloupe or a muskmelon and throw it down on the ground and hit it, and it burst, and the seeds and everything come out of it, and water, and that's just the way it looked to me.
Now, when the president got hit, what was his body motion?
When he got hit, his head went to the left.
Hello, Bob.
Hello, Mr. Riley.
You doing all right?
And